Hello again, everybody. Sparkster1701 here. And today, as we approach the 15th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, I wanted to dedicate today's video to all those who serve as our first responders, the real heroes of that day, along with those who fought back. So, in memory and in spirit of all those who fought and sacrificed for the freedoms we all cherish, I dedicate today's Transformer video to you. This is the Generation 1 Autobot Search and Rescue Trooper, Inferno. Inferno was released in 1985 and was only available that year, being discontinued in 1986 due to the new gimmickry style that Hasbro was shifting for the Transformers. Inferno, though, would reappear in the lineup in 1990, a little back-heavy, of course, as an Action Master. It's also interesting to note that Inferno would also share the mold with another 1985 Transformer, Grapple. They share the exact same mold, a similar style of vehicle, and just about all the same accessories. Grapple comes with 2 fewer parts than what Inferno does. Inferno was also the first fire engine to be placed in the Transformers lineup, the last of the emergency vehicle type Transformers, as the year prior, in 1984, we had Prowl, a police car, and Ratchet, an ambulance. And sadly to say, while fire trucks have become somewhat common in the Transformers lineup, the Generation 1 line only had one other one, 1986's Predictabot leader, Hotspot. An interesting thing to note here on Inferno is that you do have a choice for his hands, as you can have, like I've got here on his left side, we have his fist with his rifle, and in his right hand, we have a missile. He can have dual fists, dual missiles, or a combination of each, as I've done here. It's really up to you, the owner, as to how you wish to display him with that. As far as articulation goes, Inferno does have a fair amount. Unfortunately, his head cannot be moved, but his arms do rotate at the shoulder. They can rotate all the way around, but these nozzles do get in the way of it. He does have a joint at the elbow, so it does allow for some posability. You also want to be careful. Along the sides here are the launchers for the missile or his weapon. They're still kind of on the neutered side, as was the norm for Hasbro at that time due to US toy laws, but if aimed at a downward angle, they do pop out pretty easy. Getting back to his articulation, he doesn't have much here at the legs, but he can bend at the ankles, since it's part of his transformation, although this more just gives him the laid-back appearance. So, not exactly the best, but you make do with what you got. So now we'll transform Inferno, and he's pretty simple to convert into his alternate mode. We start first by removing whatever he's got in his wrists. Drop it on the floor here. And we also need to remove these nozzles that are in his shoulders. I'll bring him up here up close real quick so that I can get you to try to see those. Well, for starters, to start transforming him, we just need to pop his head back. Get it to detach from underneath the roof of the truck. So it's a bit difficult. There we go. Shift things here a little bit so you can see these are the holes that the nozzles, which you saw I had earlier, these are where they connect into. Sometimes they're not always easy to see. Alright, now that we got his head free, we take the head module and we just rotate the front end of it all the way around so it's kind of boxed in, like that. And just let it fold back out of the way. Next, we're going to straighten his arms all the way down and then rotate them at the shoulder so they point backwards. And then next, we just shift them back from the back joint and rotate them to the side at the shoulder. Next, as we straighten him out a little bit, well, we'll get him connected here in a minute. Spread them out a little bit to leave room for his head in a moment. And then next, we're going to come down here to his feet. Get up there out of the way. Fold his feet all the way down. Then we take him and shift him by the waist, fold him flat. And try to lay the black bar in here, get it down so it rests the ladder piece here onto the back of the truck. And we got a little post here that connects into a hole right here. Right here, just beyond this chrome, there's a little hole there. You're going to connect those to it so it kind of holds his arm, holds the ladder unit in place. Make sure the front of the cab is secured down. Fold down the ladder. And there we go, folks. He is, as I said earlier, a fire truck. Specifically, he's a Mitsubishi F-Series Fuso truck. Same kind of truck is used for Grapple's crane truck. He has all the similar amenities. We've got the stabilizing legs. They don't come down, unfortunately, so that's a bit of a downer. He does have rubber tires on here, so he does roll pretty good against flat surface like this table. And as you can see on this side, he does have a little fire hose. A little water squirting feature might have been nice, but this is about the time Hasbro was starting to get gimmicky with their figures, so guess we can't have everything. But probably the most impressive unit is he does have a ladder. Does have a fire ladder, and it is extendable. It is extendable there, folks. I mean, take a look at that. That ladder goes up pretty far. We're talking just, looks probably just over an inch, maybe 13, 14 inches long. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with any little men to scamper up that, and the top there looks just a little too small for a Lego fireman to get up there. So if there is a downside to his fire truck mode, that would be it. Taking a look now at all of Inferno's loose parts, and he came with about slightly more than the norm for many of the Autobot cars. All of these pieces over here are the exact same pieces that came with Grapple, which we'll get to in a moment. So for starters, we'll take a look at the hose nozzles that Inferno comes with exclusively. These are just basically large white wings. They are exactly the same on opposite sides. As you can imagine, trying to find these pieces still white is a bit of a challenge, as it would be to find Inferno still having some white on his hoses, or even on that ladder. So, if that's something that means something to you folks, make sure you check it out as carefully as you can before you buy it. Next up here is Inferno's gun. It's listed in the instructions as an extinguisher rifle, even though it looks exactly the same for grapple, and his is an arc welder rifle. As you can see, it's a pretty simple and basic gun. Not a whole lot really going for it, although it is rather interestingly designed. Inferno does include two fists. They are strangely shaped, as you can see, but these are the top sides, since these are supposed to be his thumbs. But interestingly enough, they also have holes on the bottom. And the bottom hole can also hold the gun. So, a bit strange, but basically that's all they are, just an ordinary pair of fists. Get a look here from the side so that you can see that would be how it would normally appear. Here's the left one. Bizarre. Inferno also comes with 3 of these chrome missiles. 3 chrome missiles, so you'll want to check them over for chrome wear. This one's got a little bit of wear here. All 3 of them look exactly the same. People have often wondered, why would Inferno, as a fire truck, come with missiles? And there are a few theories regarding that. One is that these missiles could be loaded with fire retardant or whatnot, so that he could use them to extinguish fires from a distance, or with a little more punch. They also could have just a small explosive charge meant for clearing debris, which would help in it, which would go well in his function as search and rescue. So they could also, he could probably, in theory, adjust the payload of how much explosive it needs. That way he could still make them somewhat useful in combat, should he have to fight his way past a Decepticon, and then tone it down, if need be, so that it can be safe to just blow away a pile of debris to get to people he needs to rescue. That's at least a couple of theories, folks. If you've got any other possible theories, please feel free to post them in the comments below. Alright, now we'll take a look at Inferno's instruction manual here, and this was done in the new style that they introduced in 1985 to kind of cut costs on the color printing. So basically they would have the Transformer logo would be colored red or purple to indicate faction, and that color would also pare down to on the figure, so you can see that Inferno is an Autobot. Unfold them out here. And then there's his page with all of his parts. And a look at the sticker sheet. And then we slowly go into how to transform him into a robot. Only somewhat complex, a little bit more than what had been done in the years prior, but still, he's an interesting toy to have nonetheless. It still mentions here on this page that the missile launchers are only designed to hold the missiles, so it has next to no propulsion. That was in line with toy laws in the States during that year. Here's the start of his sticker sheet, how to post stickers on his elbows. And then we get here to everything else. Unfortunately, mine did not come with any stickers. The downside of buying them secondhand. And you got here the proof of authenticity, the rub sign that was first introduced here in 1985. As you can see on Inferno, his rub sign is right there on the top of the truck, just in front of his face. It'll be in the same spot for Grapple. And then lastly, we get a notice about the robot points to send them in for special mail-away Transformer toys. And then down here at the bottom, it mentions about studying the tech specs. And speaking of which, we will now bring up his tech spec, since I unfortunately do not have Inferno's box. This is the tech spec. As you can see on the back, it's just the cardboard from the box. It's all done in red to indicate he's an Autobot, and even says it. You know, we got a nice picture of Inferno, which would have been the same one on the front of the box. The only thing I dislike about it is that it shows he has a knee joint, where the toy does not have knees. It gives his name as Inferno and lists his function as search and rescue. His motto is, where there's smoke, there's me. The hotter things get, the better I like it. Not only fires, but battle too. Often distracted from performing his job to engage in combat. Can do anything Earth fire trucks can in vehicular mode. Great strength. Ceramic-plated armored skin can take up to 8,000 degrees centigrade. Extinguisher rifle shoots flame-suppressing foam and an energy-dampening beam to counter other beams. So that also means that he could theoretically cool down enemy energy weapons to the point that they would no longer be functional until they warmed up. Forearms shoot missiles. Doesn't follow orders well. Not very mobile as robot. Interesting things that it points out. Now we'll lay the decoder here over the grid, and we'll take a look at his skills. It gives his strength as 9. It lists his intelligence as 6. His speed is 4. His endurance is 8. His rank is 5. His courage is 9. His firepower is 6, and so is his skill. So he's got a lot of strength and courage and endurance to make him capable of doing his job. But a lot of his other stats are kind of on the mediocre side, save for his speed, which is pretty poor, which is about what you'd expect since he is a fire truck, and they are not known for being very fast vehicles. In conclusion, we get down to what do I think of Inferno? Well, Inferno's a nice, dedicated trooper. He definitely believes in the cause and truly does want to help people. His biggest problem is that he is an action junkie. Since if he can find a battle going on nearby him, he's going to want to go run out in there and start blasting Decepticons instead of handling his primary job of search and rescue for victims and trapped people, or any other job that he finds less exciting or boring. This seems to also stem from a lot of the stereotypical media done on our first responders. They tend to focus more on those going into the action rather than those that are trapped and in need of rescue. Unless an episode of a TV series or a movie is dedicated solely to the rescue of trapped peoples, most of the story tends to focus on the action part, and that is portrayed rather well in Inferno. Sadly to say, this is an ideal that really should be changed in the media, as search and rescue is just as much of an important part for a first responder as is handling with criminals, treating the wounded, and battling fires. As a toy, Inferno's pretty good. He started the trend of bringing in fire trucks into the Transformers line, thus bringing in the last of the emergency-type vehicles into the toy lineup. So Inferno does deserve praise for that. As a character, since he seems kind of lax due to the fact of being an action junkie over a dedicated search and rescue trooper, that does hurt him from being way up in the top tier, but he still does deserve it for his unique function, as no other search and rescue troopers were put into the Transformers line. So he does deserve a top tier slot, but more towards the middle or bottom of the top tier. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Autobot Search and Rescue Trooper Inferno. If you liked the video, please thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Post a comment, share this video with your friends to help encourage more Generation 1 Transformer collectors. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later. And remember, on September 11th, thank a first responder.